Hello everybody, Legend for Life here, bringing us a brand new video. I'm sorry if you can hear a loud, rumbling in the background. Somebody's mowing their yard and interrupted me halfway through, a 20-minute long video. But I digress. So, we got a whole bunch of new stuff to talk about today that is really cool. First and foremost, though, let's start off with something that is not very cool. With the Mechanized Madness Machina structure deck. People were looking forward to having a Super Express Bullet Train reprinted, and unfortunately, that is not going to be the case. We are getting Snowplow Hustle Rustle instead. Why? Probably because Konami doesn't want Legendary Duelist cards reprinted in the TCG yet, and they're probably saving that for something special later on. That is really obnoxious. Aren't we getting something? It's supposed to be a big reprint set of all those or something. I can't remember. I just remember vaguely hearing about how, a lot of those cards are getting reprinted in a new rarity or something. But oh well, can't do anything about it. But we do have something really cool. Rise of the Duelist is looking to be one of my personal favorite sets coming up soon. Holy crap. We got Gaia getting a full archetype, we're getting Darklord support, and today they revealed Fluffal support. What the heck? I am enjoying this, okay? Seriously, Gaia is shaping up to be a pretty fun archetype. I don't think they're going to be anything meta, and looking at the new Darklord stuff and the new Fluffal stuff, I don't think they're going to shake up their archetypes too much, but they are going to add quite a bit of uniqueness to the archetypes. So, let's get off with the new Darklords first. First and foremost, we have Darklord of Delight. By the way, if you don't know, there's a YCS Darklord sweepstakes going on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Twitter, so that might have something to do with all this. So, this is Darklord of Delight. Okay, it's a level 4 Dark Fairy, 0 attack, 1600 defense. You can only use each of its effects once per turn. During any main phase, you can, as a quick effect, immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon one fairy face up. This is pretty cool. You can do this during your player's turn, so you can trigger your monster effects during your turn or your opponent's turn. They're really leaning heavy into using Morningstar again. Morningstar is the Darklord boss monster that nobody plays in the deck, except for maybe the odd one of. Morningstar, there he is. He's a level 11, cannot be special summoned. If this card is tribute summoned, you can special summon Darklord monsters from your hand and or deck up to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls. And then while you control another Darklord, your opponent cannot target this card with effects. And then he also has a mill effect, which also gives you life points. And yeah, it's just really nice. He's an overall decent monster. He just doesn't really do much for the actual archetype, but now you're being encouraged to play him with this new support, especially since now you can just plop out a bunch of monsters during your opponent's turn, which is pretty cool. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can make all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls lose 500 attack and defense for each fairy monster currently on the field. Next up, we got Darklord of Pleasure, the level 4 Dark Fairy, effect monster, 1600 attack, 0 defense. You can only use its one effect once per turn. It's a hard named once per turn effect. If this card is normal or special, you can activate this effect. For the rest of this turn, you cannot activate monster effects except for fairies. Also choose 2 Darklord monsters in your hand or deck that have different levels. And if you do, special summon one of them to your opponent's field in defense. And if you do that, add the other to your hand. Again, this is setting up Morningstar, because if you give your opponent an effect monster that they can't use, now Morningstar can summon more monsters from your hand or deck. Not bad, and also obviously you can do some other shenanigans. It gets hopefully your monster in the graveyard too, because you'll be able to run it over. So overall, pretty good card for the deck. Both of these, that is. And then we got one that I'm not so enthusiastic about, Darklord and Nurgle. He's a level 8, which is pretty cool. Dark Fairy effect monster, 2700 attack, 2500 defense. You can special summon a copy of him only once per turn, which is kind of annoying. Then you can only use the second effect once per turn, which, by the way, is the standard Darklord effect, where you can pay 1,000 life points, target a Darklord spell or trap card in your graveyard, apply that target's effect, and shuffle that target into the deck. And then his unique effect is that if your fairy attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. Other than his great artwork and the fact that he's a level 8, I don't really think he's really worth it for the most part. In rank 8 focus builds, I could totally see him being played just because he's another named level 8. But other than that, I don't really think he's really worth playing in a standard modern Darklord deck. Then we got their fusion. This shocked me when I saw it. I'm like, fusion? I wasn't expecting that. It makes sense though. The deck has levels literally everywhere. So, I mean, well, yes, there's the rank 8 build. You can't really focus too heavily on, like, a particular, like, rank or anything. Because, again, they have levels everywhere. That's also the same reason you can't really do synchros or... I mean, like, it really only makes sense for fusions or links. And they got a link already, which is a pretty good link. So, they give him a fusion. And he's Lucifer, Darklord of the Morningstar. I'm pretty sure they're just going to cut that out and call him the Darklord of the Morningstar. It's going to be so confusing. Because, if I remember right, Darklord Morningstar, he had Lucifer in his name as well, and they cut that out because you can't have Lucifer in your Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Level 12, Dark Fairy Fusion. Effect monster, 4K, 4K. I wonder if that makes him the strongest fairy now. I am really curious. Let's see here. Monster. I don't really care. Fairy, fairy, fairy. Okay, so... It's the strongest effect. Strongest effect one is 36. I'm just curious. Yeah, he's the strongest now. 3200 was the previous strongest. Huh. Unless there's somebody in rituals, links. Oh, okay, no, Odin. I forgot Odin was a fairy. Holy crap. You learn something every day. That literally never comes up. So, yep. So I guess he's now tied for the strongest with Odin in terms of attack power. Anyway, so if you can only use his first and third effect once per turn, and only once that turn. So hard named effects on his first and third. First effect, if he's fused... By the way, he needs 3 Dark Fairies to go into. Being generic, that makes him a super poly target, technically speaking. But, however, it's going to be, like, very... Like, how often are you going to have Dark Fairies in the meta? So, that is something to just keep in mind in case we ever do get a good Dark Fairy deck. Or if, like, Darklords become so good that, like, they are meta. Oh my god, the super poly shenanigans. I'm gonna fuse your Lucifer into my Lucifer, and yada yada. Anyways, if he's fusing someone using Darklord Morningstar as material, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. And considering that their fusion thing is a trap, with doing that during your opponent's turn to disrupt is gonna be fun. Fairy monsters you control cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. And then during any main phase, as a quick effect, he has a standard freaking thing. Oh, wait, no. You can pay 1,000 life points, special summon a fairy from your hand or graveyard in defense position. I totally misread that. When I was reading this last night at like 1 o'clock, I read up to the 1,000 and stopped and was like, oh, it's just a standard. No, he's just a flat out once per turn, nearby's turn, monster reborn a dude from your graveyard. This is pretty good overall. He's not bad, and he's not really like amazing either. I do think he's a pretty good boss monster overall, but however, I don't know if the deck is really going to focus on him too much, especially since he does need Morningstar if you want to get the really good effect. So, and I know people are like really not wanting to use Morningstar, but I digress. Then let's get on to the fusion trap card, Rebellious Darklord. It's a normal trap card. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Send a Darklord monster that is in your hand or face up on the field of the graveyard. Fusion summon one Dark Fusion monster from your extract using monsters from your hand and or field as fusion material. Then you can gain life points equal to the attack of the monster sent to the graveyard to activate this card. Its attack on the field have sent there from there. So this is an interesting trap. Now, obviously one of the really cool things with Darklords is that if you activate the traps and the spells from the graveyard using the Darklord effects, they skip the cost, so you don't have to send anything. But, well, unless it's part of the effect and not a cost. I don't know. I'm really bad with that. If anybody knows PSCT better than me, which I'm sure most of you do, go ahead and comment down below about that. But, however, my biggest thing with this is that you gotta send somebody to activate it, and then on top of that, you want to your fusion target is a monster that needs 3 monsters. So you need 4 monsters in order to be able to use this to summon a Darklord fusion monster, because 1 to send for costs and then 3 for fusion material. That's a huge neg. Now, granted, Lucifer can bring back the monsters from your graveyard once per turn during your player's turn, which isn't half bad. And then he also, the trap card gives you life points equal to the monster you send. So if like you send, I mean, they all have like a crap ton of attacks. So if like you send, I don't know, Superbia, who if I remember has 2,800 attack power, that gives you quite a bit. But I'm really iffy on this trap card. I almost feel like it's more worth it just to play Polymerization in the deck. It is nice that it doesn't actually make you fusion summon into a Darklord fusion monster. Like, you can summon Starving Venom off of this, which is kind of cool. But, however, I don't really see this being used heavily. At least unless we get, like, another fusion. I hate it when we only get one fusion monster and they give us a dedicated fusion spell or trap card for an archetype. So I'm hoping maybe we get another fusion monster, like something that maybe is a bit better. But however, as it stands right now, I'm very iffy on Rebellious Darklord. Like, I almost feel like it's better just to play Polymerization in the deck. Okay. I love this artwork though. Like, holy crap, he looks cool. Moving on to the Fluffals! I love Fluffals. I actually just sleeved up Fluffals like the other day. Even though I can't play! I just sleeved them up because they're actually playable again now that we're under Master Revision, and I love it. Being able to spam out fusions without a care in the world. So, they never did get a link. Like, holy crap, of all the ArcV archetypes that you'd expect to get a link, Fluffals did not get a link. Like, what the heck? The closest they have is Cross Shape, but who's actually, like, really good in the deck. Anyway, so, we got some new monsters. First and foremost, Fluffal Dolphin, who is adorable. I love it. Level 4 Water Fairy effect monster, 1,600 attack, 1,000 defense. You can only use this card's name's first and second effect once per turn each. You can target one toy vendor in your graveyard, set it to your field, and if you do, send one Ejim Seif or one Fluffal from your deck to the graveyard. That effect is pretty good. I like it. Getting to get back your toy vendor is really, really nice, especially since then you can, well, proceed to do even more shenanigans with Toy Vendor. Toy Vendor is a really good card overall. If you guys don't know what it does, it lets you discard a card, draw one card. If it's a Fluffal, reveal it. Then you can spell summon any Fluffal from your hand. Doesn't have to be the monster that you drew. But if it's not a Fluffal, you send it to the graveyard, which is a bit annoying. But however, a lot of the Ejims, at least the good ones, have graveyard effects, so they can trigger them. Or if you have, like, some of the spells or traps or whatever, it doesn't really matter too much. And then if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to search any Fluffal or Ejim Seif from your deck to your hand. It's really, really good. So being able to recycle that, as well as also get graveyard resources, is really good for this archetype. I don't know how many Dolphin you're going to play, but I definitely feel like just for that, it's probably at least a 2 of, maybe a 1 of. If this card is sent to the graveyard as fusion material for a fusion summon, you can shuffle one of your Polymerization or fusion spells that is banished or in your graveyard into the deck. This is really good too, because it lets you recycle Fright for Fusion and Polymerization, and lets you get them back from your banish too, which Fright for Factory can banish so that you do more fusion summons. Again, another really good effect. Like, this card is just really good all around for utility purposes. I love it. Then we got Ejim Seif, who just looks so creepy. I love it. It's a level 3 Dark Fiend effect monster, 1,000 attack, 0 defense. You can only use this card's first and second effects once per turn each. During your opponent's main phase, as a quick effect, you can reveal this card in your hand. Fusion summon one Fright for Fusion monster from your extract using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material, including this card in your hand. If a Fright for Fusion monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead, which is really, really, really good. It's added protection for your Frightfurs, which is pretty nifty, and also letting you fusion summon during your opponent's turn is really mean. Like getting summoned like a Kraken or something during your opponent's turn, or the Mary, or heck, any of them. Really awesome overall. Why did Twitch just open up? Go away, Twitch. I don't like you. Anyway, so, what was I saying? Oh yeah, really good card overall, especially whenever you consider it's Fusion Monster. New fusion, and it's awesome. Fright for Whale, level 9 Water Fiend Fusion Effect Monster, 2,600 attack, 2,400 defense. It's generic, just needs an Ejim and a Fluffal. And if it's Fusion Summon, you can destroy 2 cards on the field, 1 on each side. So, making, like, Ejim Seif, like, okay, using Ejim Seif's effect during your opponent's turn to Fusion Summon Whale whale effect, targeting your toy vendor and one of your opponent's monsters that they just summoned before they can actually use like it for like link material or something. Pop, pop. It's really good. I like that. And then, as a quick effect, you can target a fusion monster you control, send a Frightfur card from your deck or extract to the graveyard, except a copy of itself. And if you do, the target monster gains attack equal to the attack of its original attack until the end of this turn, effectively doubling its attack power. That's really what it should say. But, oh well. So, if you target itself, it'll go up to, what, 4,200? No, 5,200, because... yeah, so 5,200, that's a lot of attack power, and since that's attack increasing, you can do it during the damage calc, and it's just really, really mean. I like this card a lot. Holy crap. I am loving these new Fluffals overall. Then we got a new spell, Frightfur Repair. You can only use this card's first effect or second effect once per turn, and only once that turn. So you can only use one or two, you can't use both in a turn. First effect, you can target one Frightfur fusion monster in your graveyard, return it to the extract, then you can special summon one Fluffal or Ejim monster from your graveyard. That is really nifty. Getting to recycle one of your Frightfurs and then summon a Fluffal or Ejim from your graveyard as well. Like, this beats out all the other Monster Reborn cards in this archetype. There's a good 2 or 3 Monster Reborn-esque cards in Fluffals, and this card just kind of beats them all out for that right there. Then you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon a Fluffal or Ejim from your hand. This is like the lesser of the 2 effects in all honesty, but it's still a really good effect, and is, I mean, heck, dual utility. I'm not going to complain for having a graveyard effect on a card. You know, this is really, really good overall. I don't know if people are going to play it, because nobody played either of the previous Monster Reborn cards. I mean, granted, they weren't really all that great. Like, one could only target Fluffals or Ejims, the other could only target Ejims or Frightfurs. And this card can target, well, it basically handles all 3. So, I don't know. I mean, personally, I'm thinking, like, maybe it's a good 1 of or 2 of, but we'll have to see, especially with how things go. Then we got Frightfur Vendor. Oh, boy. So, continuous trap card. This card's name becomes Toy Vendor while on the field or in a graveyard, which, by the way, I love this card's artwork. It's a total inversion of freaking Toy Vendor, and you can even see, like, oh, hey, Ejim Seif, Ejim Halberd. It's just, I love it. It's so cool. So it's Toy Vendor while on the field or in the graveyard, which is cool, which makes it work with all the Toy Vendor support. Once per turn, you can discard 1 card, draw 1 card, and reveal it. If it's an Ejim monster, you can destroy 1 card on the field. Otherwise, place 1 card from your hand on the top or bottom of the deck. It's a literal inversion of Toy Vendor's effect. Instead of getting to special summon, you get to pop something, and instead of sending something to the graveyard, it puts it on the top or bottom of the deck, which then can work with Toy Vendor, which is really cool. I love this card. And then if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Its attack becomes halved until the end of this turn. That is also really cool because there's so many cards in the archetype that you send Toy Vendor to the graveyard. Like, for instance, Fluffal Wing, you can banish itself in a Fluffal to draw a card while Toy Vendor's out, and then you can destroy Toy Vendor too while draw another card, which would then just trigger Toy Vendor's effect to search. But if you also target a Frightfur Vendor, you'd get to have something instead, which is really cool because then you can make your OTK a bit easier. This is a really good wave of support overall for Fluffals. I mean, like, I don't even care if the deck gets anything else from the set, but this is a really good wave of support. I love it. It's so cool. I can't wait to see what else is going to come out in Rise of the Duelist. It's really, really interesting how, starting with, like, Eternity Code and now going into Rise of the Duelist, Konami's really starting to ramp up the legacy support for other archetypes other than just whatever happens to be a random Duel Monsters archetype. So, really, really going to be interesting seeing what's going to be else in Rise of the Duelist. And, God, I can't wait to mess around with these cards. What are you guys' thoughts and opinions on these? Thank y'all for watching. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and see y'all later. Peace out. Thank y'all for watching the video. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. Rate, comment, and subscribe. And see y'all later.